Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Love it when Donald Trump does things that you know are going to have impact. That it's not just some political scheme. It's not meant, some vote gathering thing. It's strictly, this is what's good for the country. And it's not sold to you as like, oh, here's the reason why we want to do this, like giving money to Iran or Obamacare, the nonsense that the Obama administration would do, and the orchestrations. Trump says we're going to bring money back from corporations so they can invest in America. In fact, here was an exchange. Gary Cohen talked about him bringing money back. I believe it was on Lou Dobbs, if I'm not mistaken, but get that clip for me.
When we transition from a worldwide system to a territorial system, we've got to catch up for the money that hasn't been brought back. So what the president was talking about last night, which is something very important, it's a catch up for the money that's still offshore. So the president is going to force companies to bring that money back to the United States so it can be spent and invested in the United States. And that's very important to our tax plan.
Now, what's funny about that is the operative word for a lot of these people were he's forcing companies to do such and such. It's not really he's forcing. He's saying it's kind of like a mafia choice. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. So it's still your choice. You can leave that money offshore. But the problem is when you bring your products back, we're going to add tariffs to them. We're going to do things that force you to consider America before you consider taking it offshore. So you can take rinky-dink crap offshore, and certain things may go up in price, trinkets. But everything else should theoretically stabilize based on our economy, because when you have an economy the size of America and the productivity the size of America, you have to contain a portion of it. And we haven't done that. We have a trade deficit that's out there. It's $500 billion. It's actually larger than that. It's larger than $500 billion a year. So imagine, we don't have to bring it all. We can have a trade deficit. There are countries where you say, you know what, we're going to help you, Indonesia. We're going to help you, Bangladesh. And we're going to allow you to make a little more money than normal, and we're not looking to balance the trade. We get it. And you can do things to help these other countries. That's maybe our responsibility as a country that's prospering, is to help everybody prosper, because it opens up markets for us, right? So maybe we do that. But you can't have a $360 billion trade deficit with China, who really doesn't technically need our money, and get nothing in return for it. If you're not bargaining with that, shame on you. Can't do that with Mexico, particularly given the problems that this border country is giving America. They're essentially, raping us and making us pay for it. I hate to put it that grotesquely, but that's essentially what it is. So you've got to have somebody that understands that and does something with it. So that's what President Trump is doing. The other thing I wanted to talk about was mainly what he was doing around welfare reform. And this is, again, another one of these issues where he alludes to what he wants to do, nothing committal, but he tells you the problem. Too many people are ripping us off. And I've talked about this many times, because people will say, well, Kevin, so-and-so, most of the wealth is in the hands of this many people or whatever. And I go, it may be true. Maybe, I know Bill Gates is a super rich guy, but if Bill Gates had to take on 1 million people, he would be a very poor guy. He may be worth $70 billion. So that means he could give everybody $70,000. 1 million people, $70,000. It's not a lot of money. So think about Bill Gates being worth $70 billion, who can give everybody $70,000, but we have, 40 million people that we're giving $50,000, $60,000 of welfare to. Do the math on that. So we may, have issues around the rich. I personally don't, but let's say we do. We have issues around the rich, but I have issues around the poor and the number of poor people that are ripping off the system. And so Donald Trump says, we're going to do something about this. Here's the clip.
Thing looking at very strongly is welfare reform.
That's becoming a very, very big subject, and people are taking advantage of the system, and then other people aren't receiving what they really need to live, and we think it's very unfair to them. But some people are really taking advantage of our system from that standpoint, and we are going to be looking very, very strongly, therefore, at welfare reform. It's going to be a very big topic under this administration, and it started already, and we have a lot of recommendations that we're going to be making, and you'll be hearing about them very shortly.
I got to tell you, I love this. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. On demand 24/7. You can get this program. Donald Trump addresses the things that are on our hearts and on our minds. I am sick of watching people get ripped off, or us, the taxpayers, get ripped off time and time again. Every time we talk about these issues, we talk about the rich, the rich, the rich, when the poor are ripping us off in droves. And the left, yet again, have to be shaking in their boots. You want to know why? Because Donald Trump will address this. He will figure out where the waste and the fraud is occurring. He'll start putting in the safeguards. And he'll start saying, you can go to work, but you're not going to sit on your butts and let us finance you. And unlike what the left would normally do, they would demagogue this. They would, try to make it racial or whatever else. Trump's going to go, this has nothing to do with race. This has to do with tightening the belt of this government. Now, next to the entitlements, when we think about entitlements, Social Security, which I don't think of as an entitlement. You pay Social Security insurance. That's our money. But when you get beyond Social Security, and to some degree, your unemployment is yours because you've paid for that as well till it runs out. Then you can say, well, we've also got a disability. And again, all of these things are things that happen to everybody in America. We should be concerned about somewhere between 5 to 7% of our folks at any given time needing the government. But beyond that, you say 10% just to be on the safe side, you're now into the zone of people just defrauding us. So given that as the backdrop, Donald Trump is saying, no, we're going to stop this. We're going to cut back in government. We're going to make jobs available. We're going to revamp the banking system and make money available. We're going to bring money back offshore to make companies invest. Those companies are going to need more products and services from entrepreneurs. So we're going to inspire entrepreneurs to go out and do what they do. And that's how you get things back. You get the economy flowing again. And I don't know who he's got working with him, but I can predict they've got flow charts on how all this works together. And it's pretty simple, honestly. It isn't like you need rocket science. You just can't have a guy that thinks you need a magic wand. You need somebody that understands business. And so when Trump says, I'm going to get rid of welfare, it has to coincide with there will be jobs for you and you're going to be forced to take them because we're not going to fund you any longer.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.